So y'all got rid of Duda only to bring back a fool. Mm-mm-mm. Welcome back to my channel review where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So I wanted to come on here and do a brief recap of The Shy Season 7, Episode 3. So the episode started off fast forward 6 months, right? Tiff and Keisha, they're at their baby shower, and honey, we see Emmett walking around just cheesing, smiling, grinning from ear to ear like he got both of them prego. Like, sir, sit down somewhere. Nonetheless, the baby shower was really pretty. And here we have Nuck. He pulls up with some type of stroller. I assume it's like a really top-notch stroller or whatever. And him and Emmett are getting along. Saying what's up to each other. So Nuck is at the baby shower. So, Nuck, he presents the stroller to Tiff. And of course, as y'all see, Tiff is all smiling and grinning, and so is Nuck. And Alicia's like, oh, we already have one of those strollers. He was like, well, I guess you're going to have two. She's like, no, I guess you just take it back and get something else. And so I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me because Nuck is literally at this baby shower and seemingly getting along with everybody like he is part of the family. And I do not like it. I don't like it. No, I don't. So the baby shower is going on, and Tiff and Keisha, they go sit down and have a little chat with each other. Keisha mentions to Tiff, she was like, she just thinks it's really odd how Nuck has, been coming around lately. And Tiff was like, yeah, he's been really cool and really supportive since he found out that I was pregnant or whatever. And Tiff was like, but yeah, nonetheless, still kind of weird or whatever. So they sit down, they have a conversation, and Emmett and Tiff's son walk over, and Tiff, she's speaking to her son, like, what's up? Talking to him, whatever. He kind of ignoring her, paying her dust. And so he was like, can I go play video games? And Keisha was like, no, why don't you go over there and play with the other kids? And Tiff was like, nah, yeah, you can go play video games. And then the son gets up and give her a hug or whatever. And so Keisha kind of looks at Tiff like, girl. And Tiff was like, what? I am his mother. And I'm like, yeah, you are his mother, but why is he still living with Emmett and Keisha? Like, you all the way over there with Alicia. It's 6 months later. You seemingly are doing well. You got the cigar lounge and everything. You got a place to stay. So why is your son still living with Keisha and Emmett? And if you have an issue with Keisha parenting your child, then he needs to be with you. So, Tiff was like, she basically tried to soften the blow with Keisha. It's like, girl, my hormones and everything are all over the place. And Keisha, she does check in on Tiff. She's like, how are you? Just basically trying to figure out how Keisha's doing mentally, just everything. And Tiff is like, all of this is overwhelming. Rob would just be so happy, with everything that is happening right now. So I don't understand why Emmett and and Keisha still have Tiff's son. And I'm hoping this is not a setup for something that could possibly be happening down the line that's just not going to be in favor of Tiff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not feeling that. But nonetheless, honey, while they are having a good old funky time at the baby shower, baby, Jake gets a unexpected visitor at his door. Okay.
What's up? What's up, nigga? I said, what's up? Didn't you hear me when I say hey?
So Reggie is back. Okay, Reggie is back in the Shy. He was never going to be with the Grand Reaper. He was just in hiding from Duda. And it's like, I never saw it for him. I really did not care much for him. He was necessary, but he was just one of those characters that I just was not mad, at when he left. Like, okay, glad to see you go. Thank you. Next. Nonetheless, he's back in town. And of course, Jake is happy to see him because, this is the brother that was let Jake be in the streets. He is nothing like Victor. This is the brother who tries to be more of a friend to Jake, but later on in the episode, I get to a little bit of why I don't like him because he not only is trying to be a friend to Jake, but he is also a bully. And he basically is there to reclaim whatever throne he feel like he was knocked off of when Duda was in charge. Okay.
So move now.
I gotta meet the new nigga in charge.
What, you want to thank him or something?
No. I wanna let him know that Rez is back. And the streets of Chicago belong to me.
So Victor ends up showing up at Jake's place, and Jake is like, "Hold on," he was like, "I got something to tell you," and Victor's like, "What's up? What's going on?" It's like somebody here, and Victor's like, okay, who here? You in trouble? What's up? And Reggie ends up walking out. So the two of them clash immediately. Reggie says something to Vic to the effect of, "I heard you like me," and now, and Vic knocks him cold in the face. Okay, he gives him a nice little blow in the face, and these two are about to go at it, and Jake intervenes, and he was like, "Hey, y'all need to chill. Let's go smoke." So they decide to get Fade Honey, and they are seemingly getting along. They're chatting it up, having a conversation, and Reggie ends up calling Victor by his nickname, and he was like, "Nah, it's Victor." And Reggie's like, "Since when?" He was like, "Since I said so." And he was like, "What are you doing here anyway? What are you doing back in town?" And this and that and the third, and where you plan on staying? So Reggie says, "I'm gonna stay here," and Jake was like, "Nah, you ain't staying with me." He said, "Yes, I am." And he was like, "All right, cool. You can sleep on the couch." I do not like how Jake has to uh, make himself small in the presence of Reggie. I don't like it at all. Reggie is a bully. I absolutely do not see it for him. And I am curious as to how this whole trio is how this is going to go with all three of them. Because with Reggie on the scene, it's going to be some ish. Okay? That's all it's going to be. So back at the baby shower, they end up having the gender reveal of Tiff's baby, and she and Rob are having a boy. Alicia is so happy, and Emmett and Keisha, they are deciding to wait to see what they're going to have at the time of the birth. And Emmett was like, that could be us, and she was like, "No, I just want us to wait to see what we're going to have. I want to be surprised." So they are not going to know the gender of their baby until Keisha has the baby. So we get this moment here where Alicia is sitting down talking to Bakari, and Bakari, he asks for a drink. And she was like, hold on, this is a grown man's drink. Like, you're not ready for this. So she pours him a glass of, I guess it's cognac or something. And he get ready to sip on it. It's just like, no, you have to shake, you have to circle it in your glass. You have to sniff on it and smell it. And, Bakari asked her, he's like, "Why are you so cool to me?" It's just like, I just see a lot of potential in you. You know, she asked him, she's like, and speaking of, she said, "Since I did give you that scholarship, where are you staying? I need to make sure that you're going to be in line with, basically just making sure you keep your grades and things up." And she was like, "Where are you staying, while you're, going through during your schooling or whatever?" He's like, "A friend or whatnot." And I'm thinking to myself, I don't like this. Y'all, I really do not like this at all. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but the setup is not it. Like Bakari and Nook is like, come on, y'all are in this woman's face. Y'all literally playing games in her face, and I'm not here for it. And granted, Bakari, he ain't had nothing to do with what happened to Rob, but man, come on, y'all really doing the most. Anyway, back to the drink. So Bakari ends up sipping on the cognac or whatever, and he was like, nah, this ain't for me. And she was like, "I told you that's for grown men. Like I told you, little boy, stop playing." So Emmett's baby mamas end up coming to the baby shower, and they basically say to Keisha, "Welcome to the club. Welcome to the baby mama club of Emmett." Y'all, I legit forgot that Emmett had all these other baby mamas. Like, I completely forgot. Anyway, they are just letting Keisha know congratulations, and they, start telling her that the two of them decided that it is better for them to get along so they can raise their kids together. Like, girl, we are each other's support system, and that they're willing to be that for her as well. And they just started going into the education system and talking about you know um the kids and their schooling, and they make a mention of, "Girl, we hear you got your own little homeschool going on over there, Keisha," because Keisha's very good with educating kids, and just the way that she just is around children in general. So I did like the fact that we got to see somewhat of a camaraderie between Emmett's baby mothers, because he has four. Okay. So we also got a moment from Hannibal on the show. Hannibal is Reg's friend, and Jake was like, "Dude, you knew my brother was alive this whole time and you ain't say nothing." He was like, "Look, man, I'm just looking out for my friend." And also, we know that Hannibal is also the guy who introduced Tiff and Rob and to the other guy who, showed them how to grow marijuana or whatever. Sidebar, every time I see this guy here, Hannibal, I always think of the show Legacies. I don't know if y'all ever watched the originals or the show Legacies, but he played a vampire in the show Legacies. So every time I see him, I just see him as the vampire. Nonetheless, he's back on the scene. So we get to see the pulpit pimp in action, honey. He is back ministering to his congregation, and I think his word was about abstinence or celibacy or something, honey. Basically, telling them to do as I say and not as I do. Okay. And so Jamal and Dom, they are at the church listening to the pastor preach about abstinence, and it's resonating with them because currently Jamal is like he's turning over a new leaf. He wants to, be in a relationship with Dom, but he doesn't want it to be all about sex. So he tells her that he just kind of just wants them to take things slow and not just engage in, just laying up with each other all the time in that way. And she is okay with it, but I guess she's just not used to being with a man who is trying to appreciate her for more than what she is capable of doing in said bedroom. But they end up getting engaged at some point in the episode. So we get to see a moment with Gemma and Bakari's sister Brittany. They're in the studio working, and Gemma gets a job in New York. So she and Brittany are going to be going to New York for a music opportunity. So, honey, Charles ends up walking in on the pulpit pimp and his mistress. And, baby, let me tell you this. I was like, okay, so maybe Charles is not a pulpit pimp junior. Maybe he is legit a man of the cloth who believes in the word. And, he is not just out here for a quick buck. Because, honey, when I tell you he was not here for old boy with this chick, he was not here for it at all. He was like, you up in here kissing on your mistress, a white girl? He was like, and you out here ministering to the congregation to practice abstinence and you're not even doing it yourself. Like, are you freaking kidding me? He was like, you know how many people in the congregation we would lose if they found out that you was messing around with her? And the pastor was like, oh man, whatever, we've been very careful or whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, clearly you're not careful because Charles just walked in on the two of you, like, miss me with it. Okay. So the guys end up meeting up at a restaurant, doing their check-in, just hanging out. And Gemma's dad, lets them know that Gemma is getting ready to move to New York, to, take advantage of some opportunities in reference to music or whatever. And I didn't realize at this moment that this would possibly be the last time that he will be in this male group. So we get to Maisha and Gemma's going away party. Everybody's there, Papa, Bakari, Jake, and everyone seems to be having a good time. At some point, Gemma's dad, he mentions to her that he wants to move to New York too, get a fresh start. And she was like, oh, I don't know about that. He said, look, I'm not trying to be where you're going to be at. He was like, besides, you can't afford to live where I'm going to be living anyway. But I just want to make sure that I'm in the same vicinity in case you do need me. And, Gemma was like, okay, that's cool. As long as we ain't living in the same area, I'm cool with you moving to New York with me. So everybody is celebrating the fact that, they're leaving. And like I said in my last recap, it just seems like they were basically wrapping up certain storylines. And I guess that's to usher in the new cast of people. But what I do appreciate about this show, what I really, really like about it is that we get to see how these kids have grown and developed and not just fell into the trap of just that life. You know what I'm saying? Besides Jake and Bakari, and we see Jake, he trying to do his thing with fashion, but and we also see Bakari, he's trying to better himself, with his writing in college and things like that. But I really like the fact that we get to see these kids just not be a product of their environment, but a product of their talent and their ambitions. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate this about this show. So Tiff, she goes to see Emmett and she's talking to him about their son. And she said, just make sure our son always remember that I'm his mom. Just make sure he never forgets that I'm his mom. And I'm wondering if she's feeling this way and having this conversation with Emmett because of what happened earlier, at the baby shower between her and Keisha. But even before we got to this part, Tiff had just got back from Lamaze class with Victor. Victor offered to go to Lamaze with her. And we also got to see Tiff interact with Hannibal and Nuck. Hannibal is basically showing Tiff and Nuck that shrooms are the new, the new thing. So he's showing them how to grow mushrooms. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Now, is it just me, or should she be around all these substances and she pregnant? Like, girl, you ain't had a business in the cigar lounge when you first found out you was pregnant, and now you this far along in your pregnancy and you around all these substances. Like, girl, make it make sense. Also, we got to see Alicia ask Tiff if she was gonna name the baby Rob Jr. And Tiff was like, "Well, I already got a junior," and she was talking about her son with Emmett. And she was like, "So I don't know if I want another junior." And Alicia's like, "But you living in my house." And she's like, "Because you offered for me to come here." And Alicia's like, "But he's my legacy, because of my son." And so they agree to disagree, sort of, kind of, but they agree that Tiff said she would think about it. And I'm wondering, is I don't think Alicia is going to do anything to Tiff. I don't. But like, what is really going on? Because Tiffany is having this conversation with Emmett about making sure my son always know I'm his mom. Don't ever let him forget that I'm his mom. And it's not tension, but it seems like it may potentially be some tension between her and Alicia. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but you just never know with this show. However, one thing's for certain, two things for sure. I don't like the way things are going with the whole Nuck situation. That I don't like at all. So Jake and Reg end up going to see Nuck. And, Bakari opens the door and Jake was like, "Hey, is Nuck here?" And Bakari's like, "I don't know, like, it's late. What y'all doing over here?" And so, of course, Reg, he ambushes his way into the house or whatever. And he and Nuck meet up, and Nuck was like, "Dude, I thought you was, going to be with the Grim Reaper." He was like, "Nah, I just had to lay low or whatever." So like, do you really feel like you deserve to be the head Negro in charge, Reg? Like, dude, you've been gone since how long? And now all of a sudden you feel like you just gonna run up on Nuck and expect him to bow down to you? Like, I'm just not feeling it at all. But at the same time, it's like, Nuck he's got to get knocked down a peg or two off the pedestal because of what he did to Rob. And now, like I said, you're playing in everybody's face. You're playing in Tiff's face. You're playing in Alicia's face. And I get it. He is trying to undo his wrong because he is a father. He has his son. And like I said, him finding out that he has a child has definitely softened him, but it didn't soften him to the point where he could not let Rob talk out the side of his neck just that one time and still had that man be alive. You know what I'm saying? So I don't remember too many interactions between Reg and Nuck, but from what I gather, it's not going to be a good situation between the two of them. None whatsoever. So, y'all, I literally do not know where this is going to go. You got Nuck, you got Tiff, Alicia, Bakari, and you got Keisha and him and Keisha's little boy. And Emmett. You got Emmett. So it's like Nuck has had these interactions with all these people. Everybody is cool because nothing has been going on. The streets have been quiet. Everything has just been cool, calm, and collective in the streets. Because again, Alicia thinks that the person that sent her son to be with the Grim Reaper, she think that she sent him to be with Grim Reaper. And it's like, no, the Grim Reaper is reaping in your face, ma'am. He is smiling in your face. He has befriended your son's baby mama. He is Keisha's son's father. He is Emmett's seemingly friend. It's like, it's a lot. I don't understand. And I don't know how the unveiling of Nuck being the one that unalive Rob, I don't know how that is going to go. All I know is I do not like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like them incorporating him in these people's lives. Like, he's doing too much, and I get it. Again, he is trying to compensate for what his wrong. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to do good for all the wrong that he's done, but it's just like, I really don't like it, because it's like, when it's all said and done, is he worthy of forgiveness? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, this is just gonna be, it's gonna be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But we shall see. We shall see. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.